Hi, everybody. This is Skip Elsheimer. Let me turn this off. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime streaming show, where we show old 16mm films, and that was a film about nursing, probably from the 30s, maybe. Kind of fascinating what has changed and what hasn't. But kind of on that tip, I've got another film set up that I was going to show yesterday, but I just ran out of time. This is a film on hospital safety, and this was transferred on behalf of the Internet Archive, and it was transferred on a machine where it suffers from that wow and flutter situation that we talked about, where the if there's music, it goes wow, wow, wow. So hopefully that won't make you too nauseous. This is hospital safety.
Most of us think of a hospital as a place where people go after they have an accident, not as a place where people go to have accidents. However, like just about any place, there are safety hazards in a hospital. Some are unique to the hospital environment, and some are not. Generally, the hospital staff is very aware of medical safety practices, such as the proper handling of infectious cases, careful checking of patient ID before administering any medication, keeping things sanitary and disinfected, or not entering restricted areas without proper authorization. Yet all of us at times tend to overlook some potential hazards that we are around every day. We must try to learn to think safety in everything we do, not only for our own protection, but for the protection of the patients. It can be as simple as using the safety straps on gurneys, locking the brakes on a wheelchair, or measuring the hot water temperature. For the safety of the patients, 110 degrees Fahrenheit is the maximum allowable. If you should notice the hot water temperature has increased, be sure to report it. There should be nurse call buttons and grab bars installed in all patient toilet and bathing areas. But are they all in good order? Take a few moments to check them periodically. The clean linen cart should be opened only when removing or replenishing supplies. The rest of the time, keep it closed. Soiled linens should be kept in a separate location and in a closed container. Some housekeeping tasks present potential hazards. You can help minimize the possibility of an accident by clearly marking the work area and mopping one side at a time. Proper disposal of a syringe means using a syringe destruction unit to first cut off the needle and then render the syringe useless. Discard the remains in the special containers provided, never in the wastebasket. One of the most common causes of injury in a hospital is improper lifting. It's important to learn proper lifting techniques whether you work in the patient area or any other part of the hospital. Always bend from the knees, not the waist, when lifting from the floor. Let your legs do the work, not your back. And don't be afraid to ask for help if you feel the weight is too much to carry alone. What do you do when something you need is beyond your reach? The right thing is to use a step stool or step ladder. Never stand on a chair. Take that coffee break in a designated lounge or snack bar. Don't smoke or eat in your work area, especially if you handle toxic material. If your job involves working in a noise or eye hazard area, you owe it to yourself to always use your protective equipment. No hazard to your health is so small that it is unimportant. If your work requires personal protective equipment, use it. Electrical equipment. Most people don't understand electricity, and so must take it for granted. All the more reason to use extra care with anything electrical. There are a number of small but valuable do's and don'ts to keep in mind. For example, to pull out a plug, don't yank the cord. That can break the wires, which could lead to a short, or even worse, a fire. The proper way is to grab the plug itself. Be sure to inspect the plug before you connect it to an outlet. This one has a real fire and electrical shock hazard. It has no grounding prong or dead front. Watch out for broken outlets or frayed wires. Report dangerous defects like this immediately. And don't make the mistake of overloading circuits with multi-outlet adapters. Electric beds are a potential problem because of the many opportunities for the cord to fray as the mechanism goes up and down. Sometimes an electrical device will give you a sign that there's something wrong. If you ever get a tingling sensation from the case, it's a sign of an electrical short or leakage that could be very dangerous. Don't use that piece of equipment. Disconnect it and report it. Patients should not be allowed to use personal electrical equipment unless it has been inspected and approved by medical maintenance. You need to take special precautions with electrical equipment around an electrically susceptible patient, or ESP. There's something wrong with one of these patient monitors. What? It's hard to find a trouble when the trouble is what's missing. The inspection sticker. Electronic equipment used with patients must have an up-to-date sticker showing that it's been inspected within the last 6 months. Before using, check to make sure the sticker is there and has a still current date. If not, put the device out of service and report it. Here's another situation. You get interference on a display or recording. Again, it's a sign that something's not right. It could be minor or serious. Don't take a chance. Finally, never touch a piece of electrical equipment and the patient at the same time. Even a current too slight for you to feel could be devastating to the patient. If you sometimes have the job of moving gas cylinders around the hospital, here are a few safety pointers to keep in mind. Be sure the cylinder is fastened to the cart, even if you're only going a short distance. Cylinders should always be capped when not in use, empty ones included. The storage area should provide a place for the full cylinders, and a separate area for the empties. Be sure you use the right one. There are some safety pointers to remember before using an oxygen cylinder on the ward too. Before you attach any fittings, clear the opening of dust and dirt by cracking the valve open, then closing it again. Remember that regulators can go bad. Don't stand in front of the face of the gauge on the regulator as you open the valve. Open it slowly, never suddenly. And how about the warning signs? Do you always remember to put them up in the room and on the door? And never, ever put a cylinder of gas near a flame or heat source. Fire. It's unlikely you'll ever see a serious fire in a hospital. The threat seems so remote that we tend to overlook it. We grow careless, but a fire could happen at any time. We can't afford not to be ready. We all have responsibility for fire safety in big ways and little ways. Stairway fire doors must be kept closed. If you see one propped open, close it. Fire exits must never be locked when the area is occupied. Seems as if there's never enough storage space. But even so, you must keep aisles and corridors clear and never block doors used as a means of exit. And supplies must never be stacked so that they would interfere with or conceal fire extinguishers. Insist on smoking regulations being followed. In particular, ambulatory patients may never smoke in bed. Non-ambulatory only when a staff member is present. There are lots of flammable liquids around a hospital, particularly in the laboratory. It's a hazard we have to live with. Know the safety rules and follow them. Special cabinets appropriately marked should be used for storing a supply of flammable liquids. Store acids separately from flammable liquids. And in the lab, when you have to heat a flammable liquid, use a hot plate, never an open flame. Anytime you are required to work with toxic material, be sure to use the fume hood. Obviously, we've only scratched the surface when it comes to the subject of safety rules. But safety doesn't come just by learning a lot of rules. It comes from an attitude. For everyone who works in a hospital, safety has to be a full-time job.
Yeah, so that is the wow and flutter issue. And that was made with an earlier version of the laser graphics film scanner, which we don't have. We have a newer version. And what it does, instead of having an optical sound head, it takes a visual picture of the optical soundtrack, and then it extracts digitally the sound. And so you aren't left with a kind of which is a problem if you don't have a consistent motor running it through over a head. Then you get this kind of pull and push and So it's just an inconsistent sound, and so it's like you're playing a record player with your finger. Yeah, so there you go. Speaking of film scanners, behind me is the Cintel film scanner, and we tried to watch a little bit of a film called Driveline yesterday before the film actually came off the core. And so what I've done is I have a take up as a reel versus a core, so that it won't fall off. It was basically doing what we call is making a bowl of film that was kind of stacking up, and at some point it collapsed. So hopefully this will fix it. This is Driveline. Already in progress.
To make this transmission of power smoothly, a mechanism called a clutch is used. The clutch is a device which allows the driver to engage and disengage the flow of power from the engine to the rear wheels. When the clutch pedal is depressed, the engine is disengaged, so it doesn't drive the wheels. When the clutch pedal is released, the engine is again connected and the car can move. The single-plate dry disc clutch consists of 4 major parts: the flywheel, the clutch disc assembly, pressure plate assembly, and the clutch release mechanism. This is the flywheel. It revolves when the engine is running. It is bolted to the rear end of the engine crankshaft flanges. The flywheel forms the base on which the whole clutch is attached. Holes are drilled into the flywheel to provide a means of mounting the clutch assembly. The clutch disc is made of thin, high-quality steel and consists of a number of springs and compressed asbestos facings. The hub has grooves to match the grooves in the shaft that goes to the transmission. The clutch disc hub is machined to fit the spline in the shaft. It can move back and forth on the shaft, but when the disc is turned, the shaft must turn also. When the engine is running, the flywheel is turning. If the clutch disc is pressed hard against it, then the clutch disc will turn as well as the shaft. If the car is in gear, this will cause the rear wheels to turn. The mechanism that forces the disc against the flywheel is called the pressure plate. Made of cast iron, it is about the same diameter as the clutch disc. This side has a smooth surface and will press the disc against the flywheel. This other side makes possible the attachment of springs and release mechanisms. In the clutch assembly, a number of coil springs are attached to the pressure plate to provide pressure against it. The pressure plate cover is bolted to the flywheel and acts as a base for the springs. This model shows how the clutch operates. This is the flywheel, and this is the pressure plate. It pushes against the clutch disc, which is in contact with the flywheel. Notice how the pressure plate cover is bolted to the flywheel. In here are the coil springs. This is the release lever. It is hinged to the pressure plate cover at this point. This end of the lever engages the pressure plate. When this end of the lever is pushed forward, this end pulls the pressure plate back, compressing the springs. Notice how the pressure plate is now disengaged. The clutch disc is no longer forced into contact with the flywheel, and if the engine was running, the flywheel would still be turning, but the power would not be transmitted to the wheels. The springs are now compressed. When the release lever is released, the springs force the pressure plate to push the clutch disc into tight contact again with the flywheel. The release lever is operated by means of a foot pedal inside the driving compartment. The clutch pedal is connected through a clutch linkage to the release bearing, so that when pressure is put on the clutch pedal, the release lever operates and the clutch will become disengaged. An important part of the linkage is a part called the release fork. It is connected to the release bearing and it pivots here. After it's been pushed forward, it is pulled back by a return spring. The gear shift lever makes it possible to select the various gears of the transmission that either disengage the engine or transmit the power of the engine to the appropriate speed of the car. The lever follows an H pattern of shifting with the reverse and forward gears at the extremes and neutral along the center bar. This is the transmission in a car. This is a model of a 3-speed transmission, showing gears mounted on shafts and the whole assembly enclosed in a cast iron housing. Gears are rotary levers. The gear teeth are designed to work smoothly with another set carrying the same pattern. The gear shift lever inside the car moves 2 gears in the transmission. When it's shifted, some gears inside the transmission become engaged, while others become disengaged. In neutral position, these 2 sliding gears have been moved to a position where they are not engaged with the other gears. In the neutral position, the connection between the running engine and the drive wheels is broken. In low position, this low and reverse sliding gear has been moved to engage the low speed gear. The low speed gear, which is on the counter shaft that turns whenever the engine is running, now causes the main shaft to turn, and this causes the drive wheels to turn. When the transmission is moved into second gear, the low sliding gear is moved to neutral, and the synchromesh unit becomes engaged with the second speed gear. In high gear, the synchromesh unit is disengaged from the second speed gear and becomes engaged with a part of the clutch shaft gear. When the transmission is shifted into reverse, the synchromesh unit is placed in a neutral position and the low and reverse sliding gear becomes engaged with the reverse idler gear, and this is engaged with another reverse gear. Since there are 3 gears instead of the usual 2, the main shaft will turn in an opposite direction. When an automobile makes a turn, one wheel travels faster than the other because of its longer turning radius. It must therefore be possible for one of the drive wheels to drive faster than the other, while on a straight run both wheels maintain equal speed. The principle of the differential makes this possible. This device allows the 2 wheels to be driven at different speeds from the same drive shaft. The axle shaft from one wheel connects to this side. And the axle shaft from the other wheel connects to this side. This is a drive wheel and its axle shaft. At the inner end of the shaft is a bevel gear called a differential side gear. The same applies to the other wheel. These 2 bevel gears do not touch each other. They are each engaged with 2 other bevel gears called the differential pinion gear. When the drive pinion gear turns, the side gears in the pinion housing revolve around the pinion gears, causing the axle shafts and the drive wheels to rotate. But the differential pinion gears can rotate in opposite directions as well. When a car is making a turn, one side gear moves faster than the other, which has less distance to travel. When this happens, the silver-colored differential pinion gears begin to rotate on the pinion shaft, sending more speed to the outside wheel and less to the inside wheel. The differential pinion gears are held in place inside a differential cage, and when the cage is forced to turn, the differential pinion gear causes the two axles and two wheels to turn. This is the drive shaft, which is turned by the transmission and transmits the rotary motion to the drive wheels by means of the differential. This is a model of the automotive drive shaft. It has universal joints at the front and rear, which allow great flexibility to their connecting parts. This means that the rear axle housing can move up and down without breaking the drive shaft. This is an actual universal joint. One part is connected to the drive shaft, and the other part is connected to the rear axle assembly. There are basically two kinds of axles. First, the dead axle, as in a horse-drawn wagon. With the dead axle, the axle does not rotate, the wheel rotates on it. The second kind of axle is the live axle, and it is attached to the wheel so that both the wheel and the axle rotate together. The axle is kept inside a housing, usually made of stamped steel parts welded together. This housing is called a banjo housing because of its resemblance to the musical instrument. The semi-floating axle is used as a rear axle in most automobiles. The outer end of the axle is supported in the axle housing by a single bearing mounted about 6 inches from the outer end of the axle. The bearing is located between the axle and the axle housing. This type of axle resists the bending caused by the forward motion of the car. The revolving axle turns the wheel and the axle bearing pushes against the axle housing, which moves the car. As the wheel is mounted only on the live axle, the axle must resist all side thrusts that occur when the car is making a turn. The main purpose of the live axle is to transmit the turning motion of the drive shaft to make the back wheels move.
So Sterling would often distribute films from Canada. So I'm kind of looking to see. I missed the end credits of that, but that's straight up, shop, auto shop, high school vocational training. They'd show that film, and then you'd learn how it works. Then you take one apart, you put one together, and that way you get a job. So there you go. It's all about choosing the job. High school is basically trying to prepare people for society, as most of them were not going to go to college. So there you go. Speaking of choosing a job, here's a Encyclopedia Britannica film about choosing a job. Enjoy.
begin today, the counseling office has asked me to get some information from you. How many of you have made plans for after graduation? Okay. How many of you made no plans? No plans at all, Ruth?
Not really. I have a summer job lined up. After that, I'll just wait around and see.
Well, you better not wait too long. Come on, anybody made any plans at all for graduation?
I know I want to be a secretary.
That's fine, Linda. How about you, Carol?
Well, I guess I really don't know either, Miss Calvert. I think I want to do some kind of office work, but I'm not exactly sure what.
Well, in that case, maybe you should talk to one of the counselors. They might be able to put you into a career education program, and maybe that would help you make up your mind.
No shorthand, I see. Type about 35, 40 words a minute.
Well, when I spell the words right, it's really closer to 30.
And you get pretty good grades in math. Well, we're cooperating with several companies in a career education program. That might be something for you.
Is that where you go out and work after school?
Well, you do a little work, just enough to give you an idea of what the job is all about. Actually, you'd be more of an observer.
Oh, so that in one place I'd be watching what the secretaries do, and then in another place I'd see if they did bookkeeping or something like that?
Something like that. You wouldn't get paid for it, but you would get class credit for it. Does that sound like something you might be interested in?
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Okay, I'll tell you something.
My counselor told me a lot about the program. But even so, I was kind of nervous when I got to the first place. I didn't know what to expect, especially from the people.
Good morning. You must be Carol.
Yes, Carol Jansen.
Fine. Come with me,
But
please.
Mrs. Lewis, she was the supervisor of the section I was assigned to. She was very nice.
I'll take you up and you'll meet the girl. Girl?
Usually there were 4 clerk typists in Mrs. Lewis's section.
Carol Jansen.
But right now, one was on vacation.
This is Teresa
A couple of them were about my age.
and Burma. And this is going to be your desk, dear, so make yourself at home and I'll be right back with work for you to do.
I didn't have too much trouble with the straight typing. It was just like the classes at school. But some of the handwriting I got was like secret code. I wonder where they went to school. I had the same problem with some of the dictation tapes. Even when people know what they want to say, typing from tapes is always slower.
The format's good and the copy is clean. No big erasures or anything like that. But this word and that word, they're both spelled wrong.
Oh, I see they are, but I know how to spell them both.
I don't doubt it. I'm sure they're both typographical errors, but it's really up to you to check your work before you turn it in.
Well, I was just trying to keep up my speed.
I know. But if your typing is not accurate, it doesn't matter whether you do 1 word or 100 words a minute, now does it?
No, I guess not.
Well, don't worry.
Filing is easy, if you know the alphabet. But if you let your mind wander and misfile something, then somebody's really got problems.
This is an order from Beckman and Company, but it's directed to Paul Stern. So who should I file it under, Beckman or Stern?
Well, that's a good question. Let's see it.
Running errands was kind of fun. I used to think that if you worked in an office, you had to be a secretary or something like that. Now I see what they meant in school, about there being so many different kinds of office jobs. Hi.
Hi.
Mrs. Lewis said this has to go out by messenger right away.
Okay. You new in that department?
No, not really. I'm here on a career education program.
Oh. You, sure you can find your way back?
Oh, sure. Well, maybe you better show me which way to turn after I get by the accounting department.
All right. My name's Ken. What's yours?
Carol?
Before long, I'd caught on to the job and all the office routines. They had a rule to cover everything, and everything was run strictly by the clock. Oh, they had good benefits, and that's important, I guess. wasn't sure if a job like this, in a big company, was right for me. My next assignment was different. This was a small company of about 25 people.
And there's the number. Okay? You try it now.
Good afternoon, Bradley Products. I believe he is. May I ask who's calling, please? Okay, Mr. Corman, could you wait just a moment, please? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Corman.
Working the equipment, logging calls, and so on. Even the way you talk to people. Oh, that was easy. The big difference was that here, there were a lot of situations where you had to think for yourself. Sometimes things got a little tense.
Norm Platt come back from lunch yet? Not yet. I'll sit here until he comes back, if you don't mind.
But mostly they came out okay. I just tried to treat people the way I'd like to be treated. And usually that seemed to work. The main difference between a small company and a big one is that here, nothing is completely cut and dry. For example, Barbara's the receptionist and the switchboard operator. But plenty of times she does copying and mailing, or helps with the typing.
Hi, Mr. Bradley.
Things are a lot freer in a small company. I mean, here I could kid around with the president. But somehow, after all those phone calls and all those visitors, I began to think that dealing with the public all day was not for me. In my next assignment, the public was all on tapes and punch cards. This company provided all kinds of computer services. I'd worked with the key punch and the data typewriter a little in school, so I felt all right at first. But after that, I started getting kind of lost. And I didn't think I was going to get very much out of my time here. Anyhow, I kept asking questions, and after a while, data processing began to make sense to me. I got pretty fascinated by the whole thing.
Okay, Carol. Now take tape 2811. You can look up the subject matter here in the white cards. Here you go.
Maria, the tape librarian, is taking night classes in programming so she can move up to a better job. She told me that before long, computers will replace most of the business machine operators and even file clerks. She says this is where the future is in office work. For most girls I know, this is the future, being a private secretary like Marilyn. The pay is good and the offices are nice and all that. But you don't get this kind of job unless you're really good. Fast, accurate typing and shorthand are just the beginning. You've got to understand your boss and his work so well that you sort of know what he's going to need, almost before he does. And you've got to be able to handle a lot of important things without being told what to do next.
And, Marilyn, answer this one right away. Tell him definitely no, but make it sound a little bit like yes.
I found out that a good secretary has to be more like her boss's assistant, besides doing all the routine office jobs.
He wants to speak with you, too. Now, if you'll tell me what time you'll be free this afternoon, I'll be sure and have him return your call then. Around 3?
And she has to be a real diplomat, too. But she gets good raises and even gets to travel sometimes.
Right, goodbye. I have a meeting 10:30 tomorrow in Cleveland. Will you get me on a flight out here tonight? And make that a dinner flight if you can. And give me a different hotel. That last place was terrible.
Yes, sir. Well, Mr. Donahue will be out of town until Wednesday evening, Mr. Fleischer.
What I want to do. I mean, I like people okay, but... Well, I guess I found out that I just don't like having them breathing down my back all day. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, there's nothing to be sorry about. That's why I'm here, and that's why we have programs like this. Now, did any of the other jobs seem interesting to you?
Well, don't laugh. But I really like data processing. It's not easy work either, but I really liked it. I don't know, I guess it's because it's a better atmosphere or something.
Data processing? It's very interesting that you should choose a field like that. You know, data processing is becoming more and more important in, well, all fields of clerical work. Would you like to know more about it?
Oh, I really would.
If you are interested in some aspect of clerical work, there are actually several hundred different types of jobs in the field. Your teachers and counselors can help you find out about opportunities, conditions, and trends where you live.
All right, so, hey, I appreciate all the comments. Always great. This is why we show films, is to elicit comments. Hindsight is wonderful. Plus, there are some hilarious jokes in the comments, so thank you for those. And these are on YouTube's comments, and Facebook has got some good comments too. But, so, this is when I get excited. One, when I see a film that has them bringing a projector in and showing another film, so a film in a film. It gets very meta. The other thing I really dig is when I see an actor from one film who shows up in another film, especially if the films are not made by the same company. I mean, with Cornette, it's like, oh, well, that guy, that woman, that girl, they were in these whole series of these films because that was their kind of, they had a Rolodex probably of the people they would cast over and over and over again. With other companies, maybe not so much. Centron was an example of another company based in Kansas that kind of had a lot of common people that showed up. But this next film is a Centron film, which I've shown before. It's called The Lunatic, and it features our main character from the last film, choosing a job. It features the actress. Like I said, I've shown this before, but it's really great. It has an awesome song. So enjoy The Lunatic.
Was that really me? Sometimes I can't believe it ever happened. Hello?
Yes, may I speak to Jennifer McDonough, please?
This is Jennifer. The what clinic? Wait a minute. Are you talking about... Who are you talking about? I don't understand. Who gave you my name?
I'm sorry, Jenny, but I just can't give you that information. Look, do you think you could come into the clinic sometime soon? Say this afternoon.
Where is this place? No, but I can find it, I guess. Yes? Okay, thank you. No, don't worry about it. I understand. Okay. Bye.
Lunatic was running, trying to find a place to go. The people running after him, and if they caught him, boy, they'd show him. One man stopped and caught his breath and called the men in blue. 'Cause with a lunatic at large, no telling what he'd do, yeah. The sane men have to hide, 'cause they know the things they say he's done that good folks can't abide.
Well, I just found out that I have VD. Or at least I probably have it. This guy called from the clinic today and said that some people I know have contracted VD, and so, I mean, he wouldn't even say Richard's name. He says I probably have it, and so he wants me to come in and get some shots.
I turn around, you know, and she's not there, which really bummed me out because we were starting to get into a very heavy thing together. Anyway, the next thing I know, I'm up on that stage, you know, playing my guitar. But like, you know, I look down and I don't have a guitar. But I really was up on the stage playing, you know?
So she'd split on you?
Yeah. Well, anyway, like I'm waiting for her to come back, you know. And I'm sitting up on the stage, like doing two-part harmonies by myself. I know, it sounds weird, but I really was getting into that. Anyway, I'm surrounded by all these musicians and magicians, and all this really fine sound is coming out of everything.
I'll never forget how I felt that day. Never.
Jennifer McDonough, please. So I look around, you know, and there are about 50 people then staring back at me, which I didn't really mind. Hi, come on back. Are you a student here in town?
Yes, I am.
Your parents live here?
No.
Come on in.
I don't understand. Are you the one who called me?
Yes, I am.
Excuse me.
Well, we are talking about Richard, right? Well, you know, 'cause, well, he's the only guy that I've slept with, so, could you tell me when he came in for treatments?
Look, Jenny, now you know I can't give you that information. I'm sorry, but, you know, everything around here is completely confidential. Your case and everybody else's. I can't talk about those involved.
Look, you don't understand. I know it's Richard. It couldn't possibly be anybody else. So why can't you just...
Jenny, now try and understand. I can't give you that
Wasn't involved. Well, how many are there? Maybe Richard hasn't been in here at all. Maybe he just gave them my name on the phone or something. Richard, why do you keep hurting everybody?
Now try and understand, okay?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jenny.
All right.
Busy?
Come on in.
Diane, this is Jenny. Jenny and Diane.
How are you? Oh, just fine.
Well, I guess I better be getting on back to school. I've got a wedding to break up. It was nice meeting you, Jenny. Well, goodbye.
Yeah, we'll see you. Well?
I don't know what to say. I came over here to find out what's going on in your head. I get told by some guy at the clinic that somebody, obviously some girl, gave your name and you gave my name and we all have VD. And I'm just so confused, Richard.
So am I.
Why didn't you tell me yourself? Why did I have to hear it that way?
I don't know. I came over the other night to tell you. Well, I got there and, well, what's her name? Your roommate was there, and you know what she does to my head. And then I couldn't. I didn't think the time was right. And then I got home and I got uptight and I don't know. I don't know.
You don't know. I suppose that chick that just left here is probably the one who gave it to you. Do you know that?
Yeah.
How do you expect me to feel, Richard? I mean, how do you expect me to feel? For 6 months now, you have been telling me how concerned you are about humanity, how we all need to be more honest and more pure. Boy, I really don't feel that now.
Are you just being hard on yourself, maybe?
Oh, Richard, I feel terrible. I feel ugly.
Look, it's not that big a thing. It's just
It is a big thing. It's really dangerous, and it is sickening.
The whole world's rotting away anyway.
Oh, Richard, don't be such a fake. Let's face it. The guy from the clinic called and said that you have to come in and get some shots. And obviously you haven't been in yet. Look, I don't know what you're putting it off for, but you better go in because all you're really doing is infecting your precious humanity.
Look, I'll go in. I'll go in, but it's my thing and I'll go when I'm ready.
I mean it, Richard. Please go in.
Go, all right?
Okay. Well, I better go now. This was my Richard, my love. Mixed up Richard. What was it with him? I guess I always wondered. What made him the way he was? He was so wonderful in so many ways, and so thoughtless and self-centered in others. My Richard. All he needed was some shots to save himself. And save some others too, I guess. The clinic could cure what he had. They kept calling me and saying my contact must come in for treatment. Never a name, just my contact. Oh, Richard.
How are you?
Fine. Can I sit down?
Sure.
Sorry to bother you, but, well, I don't really want to be here. This guy, John, called from the clinic and asked me if I wouldn't come over and plead with you once more to come and get your shot. So, here I am, pleading with you again. I told him I didn't think it was too cool for me to be over here, since I didn't think we'd be seeing each other anymore. But I felt sorry for him because he's been having so much trouble getting in touch with you, Richard, since you've been so difficult. And
Yeah, I really feel sorry for him.
well, I'm sure it doesn't touch you too much, Richard, but you might try and consider the fact that he is trying to help you and help a bunch of other
I've heard
people
that
because
junk
of
all
you.
my life. Everybody trying to help me.
Oh, Richard, a lot of people have tried to help you, and you know it. You just don't want any help. You just don't enjoy any help at all.
Look, you don't know my hassles, so don't preach to me.
Oh, I don't know your hassles. Oh, boy. How many times have I heard that?
You don't. You don't know a thing that's going on inside my head. You don't know what the situation is. You see, this much. Well, there's a lot more to it than that, I'm telling you.
What are you talking about, Richard?
Just trust me.
Trust you? Oh, Richard. There's nothing to trust. He won't let anybody help you. I've tried, and the guy at the clinic have tried.
This guy at the clinic. I don't think this guy at the clinic can do what he wants to do. Because he doesn't know.
Know what?
I didn't get it from that girl you met.
What are you talking about, Richard?
I've had it for a long time, Jennifer. Even before I came here. I just didn't want to tell anybody. Especially you. I'm sorry.
He left. For me, it was over. Richard was running. And people were still trying to help him. Would he ever help himself? Wonder who really was the lunatic. Was it Richard?
Ah, she didn't know what she's missing.
Or was it me?
So Jim Stringer. Do you guys know who Jim Stringer is? He's the man who wrote the music to Shake Hands with Danger, and also did many other Centron films. This was early on. The Lunatic, he was in the band Tide, his band Tide, And I think they were asked to write a song for this film, and then eventually he started working for Centron, doing music, writing songs, doing sound stuff, and other aspects of working at Centron in Lawrence, Kansas. And wow, that film, I loved that film so much. Why is it that Richard didn't report that he got venereal disease? One theory is that he got it from another guy, and that he couldn't own up to that, potentially. That's one of the ways to read it. There's other reasons, but basically, this is a cautionary tale, and it's an interesting for VD films, because I have quite a few. It doesn't get into the diagrams and what the symptomology and all that stuff. This is about the head trip. This is about the, like, oh, I got involved with this person, I liked them, they seem to have a great philosophy of life, and then I got the venereal disease, and it's clear that they didn't care to even mention to me that they even knew that they had it, and they still gave it to me. That is interesting. That most VD films don't do that. There was something for soldiers during World War II that was like, she may look clean, but she's not. Just avoid those easy pickups or those B girls who look clean. They might seem like they're wholesome girl next door types, but they might be carrying venereal disease and not know it. In this case, Richard did know it. So, fascinating film. And again, we watched it again because, one, I love it. It has a great song. Is it a toe tapping tournament candidate? Yeah, I'll put it on the list. I might have had it on the list early on and then decided not to include it, but I might include it. But thanks everybody for tuning in today. We watched some 16mm films. Big fan of your comments. If you like what we do, you can hit the thumbs up button or smash the like button or do all those different things you can do to say, yes, we like what you're doing over there. You can also buy us coffee by going to ko-fi.com/avgeeks. And you can go to avgeeks.com and see other shows and other films that we've scanned and digitized over the last 10 years or so. And you can buy DVDs. So thanks everybody for tuning in. As always, please rewind. Love each other. Be aware that there's a rewind devil out there. That might be a problem. But if you love each other and you have a smiley face with eyelashes, you will persevere. Everybody have a great rest of your Thursday, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care.